Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Oh, what a game that was last night. Finally, a real NBA game, a real NBA game, and there hasn't been too many like this one. Woo, man. Well, I won't say that. There's been a couple of, I think in the Denver series, they went back and forth. That was pretty good. But I'm used to the 80s and 90s where dudes just going back and forth all game, hard fought battle, no blowouts. Well, let me say the Knicks versus the Pacers, it was pretty tough. It was pretty good until, Jalen Brunson turned into a wussy and set out and gave that game away. The series. Oh boy. Let me first address this. For you guys, you're saying that 80s and 90s players couldn't play in this era? Wow. They probably would dominate this era. And it's all coming to fruition, you know, when it comes down to the clutch, when it comes down to playing defense, when it comes down to X's and O's. 80s and 90s players will have a field day in this era. And it to me, it's not too much about shooting a three. I think if you put 80s and 90s players against today's era, the 80s and 90s players will be like, you can shoot the three. Go ahead. We're going to dominate the mid-range in the paint, and you won't be able to stop it. So when you're shooting 19%, 20%, 29%, 30% for the game, if you go back and watch all through the playoffs, game after game after game after game, these teams are shooting. I don't even know the word. It's horrible. They're shooting horrible from the three. Now, sometimes they'll be on and they'll shoot 38% for a team, 40%, sometimes 50%. But I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10. I would say about 6 out of 10 times, they're not shooting good as a team from the three. If you go back, go look at it. Go look at it. Yeah. So 80s and 90s players, they would pretty much give these guys their little three ball because when it's not going down, these guys are looking bad. These guys haven't developed a mid-range. And that's something for Anthony Edwards. He needs a consistent mid-range to be a great player because we see what Luka is doing. Luka can hit the three. He can hit the mid-range. And this is all. I think Luka probably would have won a championship by now if he would have had another great player on his team like Kyrie. Now, are they going to win the championship? I don't know that yet. Truly, I think the Celtics are more hungry. I won't say they're a better team, but they have more experience. They're more hungry than the Mavs because the Celtics have been trying to get this thing for a long time. And I don't bet, but I wouldn't put my money on the Mavs to beat the Celtics. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it because I see this as a great matchup right here. This is going to be a great matchup. They're going to miss Porzingis in the paint. They got Al Horford, so it looks like he's going to be able to pull the Mavs center out to the perimeter. We're going to see how that works. But yeah, it's going to be a matchup. It's going to be a great matchup. Yeah, this is what we're used to seeing in the 80s and 90s. And I kept trying to tell you guys, people think Michael Jordan just ran through the league in the 90s. No, you got to go watch these games. You got to go. The only time I seen like the Bulls maybe, ran through teams was like the first round. Yeah, you take care of business. You're a number 1 seed going against a number 8 seed, or you're going against a number 6 seed. But no, they didn't run. They didn't run through it like that. Those Heat teams, those Knicks teams, those Cleveland teams, Hawks teams, they battled with the Bulls to the end. The only difference was Michael Jordan. This guy was hitting incredible shots. Or, his team was hitting incredible shots like last night. Your star player isn't always going to hit the incredible shots to seal the deal. Maybe Paxson was open. Maybe Kukoc was open. Maybe, Pippen did his thing. It was always a team effort, but Michael Jordan basically was the difference. So another thing is they're trying to say that, who's it? Stan Van Gundy? I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He sounds like so weak and cowardly, and he used to be like more strong when he used to call games. He used to act more manly, sound more manly, and everything. I can't even believe this guy's a coach. He sounds real weak. But he says that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic is the greatest backcourt of all time. Huh. And I thought it was Steph and Clay. I thought it was Steph and Clay because, like I always say, because they tell us that Curry changed the game. And I said, no, Curry and Clay changed the game. Without Clay, there's no there's no Splash Brothers. I don't even think Curry has the type of career that he has. I think he'll be a great player. But if you only had to concentrate on Curry back in the day, no. I don't know how many championships they would have won. I don't even know if Kevin Durant would have ever came and played with Curry, right? So Curry and Clay, I can't even say it. Curry and Clay changed the game. So if you was to hone in on Curry, he's going to throw the ball to Clay. If you hone in on Clay, he's going to throw the ball to Curry. And these guys are hitting 40% plus from the three. What? Get out of here. Get out of here. And I don't even think they changed the game, really. Because it was just them two at the perimeter, at the three-point line, and not the whole team. So the whole team wasn't trying to play like that back in the 210s. So they didn't really change the game. The difference is everybody in the league just thought they could shoot threes. And they really can't. If you look at some of these postseason playoff numbers for a team, so they're shooting horrible at times, especially when they lose for as many threes as they shoot. So Luka and Kyrie Irving, not the greatest backcourt of all time. This is what I mean. You got to prove something before you can be called the greatest of all time. They haven't won a championship together. They didn't win the West. They didn't win a conference title. They missed the playoffs last year. This is what I mean. You can have a good series, a good playoff run, a couple of good games. In this era, these guys are ready to say these guys are the best. This is the best we ever seen. All this nonsense. And the people who saying it should know better. The Stan Van Gundy's, the Reggie Millers, all these type of dudes from the old school, but they just got to say all this nonsense just to keep a job, just to make these era of guys feel good. And like I told you, if Reggie Miller was being honest, this guy scoring 30 points a game easily in this era, shooting threes. Are you kidding me? Spaced out floor. You know how Reggie Miller had to get his points? Coming off of 3 screens, and then when he came off those screens and he shot the ball, he still had a hand in his grill. That's how tight the defense was back then. So yeah, Clay and Curry won 4 championships together. 2 without Durant. To me, I don't even think they needed Durant. I think Durant, they was just trying to rub it in LeBron's face. And this is where LeBron, he looks stupid because he goes back on his podcast and, licks on Curry, says all this good stuff. This man took 3 championships away from you. I ain't trying to say you got to be his enemy, but you calling him the greatest this, the greatest that. Man, come on. So you got a flat earther and you have a plumber dominating the next Michael Jordan. Baby Jordan. I think that's what they used to call Harold Miner, right? Baby Jordan. The Ant-Man. I guess. So he's going to need to develop a consistent jumper. And being 4 years into the league and being touted as this next, he should have already had a consistent mid-range jumper, to me. He should already had it because Luka already has it. And Luka had it 4 years in the league. I think Luka's 6 years into the league. And they both came in at 19, so what's the excuses? Luka's been all NBA first team since his second season. Been an all-star, I think, since his second season too. Maybe his first. Scoring title. And he's been tops in everything. Top 10 in per game, points, rebounds, assists. So what about Anthony Edwards? If I'm not mistaken, Luka's been there like the last, 4 years? Anthony Edwards hasn't been top 5 to 10 per game in nothing. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. I know you guys want this to be an American face to the NBA, but it has to be proven. Luka and Joker are dominating. I don't think Anthony Edwards, he doesn't have that clutch yet. And yeah, he did a little dunk. This is what I'm talking about, man. You guys see a little dunk like this, and you guys go crazy. I mean, I was looking for them to say this was the greatest dunk of all time. I don't even think he can palm the ball, really. I don't know. Because when I see him dunk the ball, it wasn't nobody really stopping him. The ball was out of his hand when he literally dunked the ball. So he doesn't have mitts like Michael Jordan. Definitely not. But yeah, we used to see this on an everyday basis in the 90s. All the time. In the playoffs, the regular season. So when you guys see a dunk, it's the greatest thing you ever seen. I'm not trying to say it wasn't a great dunk, but come on now. Carl Anthony Towns. Ran your mouth. Another mouth runner, just like Anthony Edwards. And it came back to bite him. It's coming back to bite him. This series is over unless the Mavs can melt down in the biggest fashion of all time. I don't think it's going to happen. All these games have been close. I think at least one game Minnesota should have won. Who was it? The Mavs. They didn't get any bench production. It was mostly Minnesota. Had all the bench production, but their starting lineup didn't come through. And Rudy Gobert, oof, I've been seeing some great blocks by the Mavs, not so much for Minnesota. Where's Rudy Gobert? He's supposed to be cleaning the windshield. I'm talking about he's supposed to be making spectacular blocks at the end of these games. Not on three pointers or mid range or nothing like that, but people come into the hole like that. I don't know, bro. I do not know about this guy. I'm not trying to say he had a bad game. He had a pretty good game, but man, well, so the greatest athletic era of all time. Another plumber is doing this thing, and they can't stop him. They can't stop him. They even try to put Nas Reed on him, which I think is a great defender. I think they ought to put this man in the starting lineup next season somewhere. I don't know his contract, but yeah, they need to go ahead and start this guy. He looked like he can give you, 15, 20 points consistently every game. Because he gets the ball a lot because Anthony Edwards is always trying to throw the ball to him to bail him out. Anthony Edwards isn't shooting that three ball no more. What happened to that? He was shooting a lot of them threes. He's not shooting them no more. And now I think he's getting a little bit humbled. But he needs to go back in the gym and work on his mid range. Because he's got great handles. Um, he's really, really athletic. But he needs to get back in that gym and get that. He's got a mid range, but he needs to get a consistent mid range to where he's not, doubting himself. Because nobody can really stop this guy. This era really isn't a great defensive era. I watch him just dribble around dudes, and you know, you just couldn't do that in the '80s and '90s. You just couldn't. I'm sorry, you couldn't. They will pick your pocket real quick, and they will body you and get up on you like that. You just couldn't do that, man. I'm not trying to say you can't do it sometimes, but the way this guy dribbles, um, no, he couldn't do that. They'll pick his pocket. I think he does have good handles, but he just couldn't do that in the '80s. They would pick his pocket. So let me say this: barring the Mavs choke this one down and lose, the Lakers are getting more and more exposed down the line. I said this before. The Wolves beating the Nuggets, it exposed the Lakers, how weak and sorry they really were. And to me, I've always said, you get rid of LeBron James, I think the Lakers are a better team. What I mean is, as far as them getting free throws, pouting and crying and flopping, Denver could have blew out all those games. But like I said before, Denver had to play Adam Silver, the refs, the league, the Lakers, the flopping, the crying. That should have been a sweep. Every game should have been a blowout. That's what I see. When I see the way the Wolves handle business against Denver, it exposes to the Lakers. Right? Why? Because Denver hadn't seen no defense like that. They weren't used to playing a defensive team. The Lakers aren't great on defense, except AD. That's about it. But as a team, they're not a great defensive team. They made the play-in. Why they make the play-in? Because they didn't play any defense all year. Now on offense, they're a great offensive team, but they were in the play-in because they didn't play any defense. Now, the Mavs are about to beat the Wolves, so that just exposes the Lakers even more as far as how bad they are. And to me, I've already made this video. I don't know why LeBron James is coming back next season. It makes no sense, except for to steal money from fans. We got to hear all this nonsense. Notice in these games, we don't hear no crying. We don't hear no flopping. All this stuff from a team that acts like, they done won like back-to-back championships, the Lakers, and should be giving all these calls. Now, I can tell you what, I don't like what Anthony Edwards does when he goes up for a layup or whatever he's trying to do at the rim and he's screaming. That's real sissy to me. Grow up, dude. You don't have to yell every time you go up trying to get a foul call. Watch him. Go listen to him. Why are you yelling, dude? It's not LeBron James flopping, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. So, a lot of people, they're going to be going for the Mavs to win the finals. I'm not sold on it yet. I know the Celtics have had an easy path, but still, I think it's a great matchup. You saw how Jaylen Brown has been playing. He's been playing his butt off these playoffs. You got Tatum, you got Drew Holiday, you got a good defensive team. I don't know what's happening to the Wolves on defense in this series. They really haven't been playing the defense like they played against Denver or the entire playoffs period. Maybe the Mavs are just that good. They're a good team. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be a good matchup. I think a lot of people's pissing on the Celtics because they haven't played nobody. But, man, I've been watching them against the Pacers. They could have lost that last game. But they didn't because of their defense. So, tell me what you think, man. I mean, this one's over. This one's over.